snakes there. If they got deep water there, I'm going. I don't care what they call it.
They're real friendly and everybody waves back, and so that was kind of took me back.
Who could have imagined that the wild, muddy world of Louisiana's swamps, with its buzzing mosquitoes, murky waters, and giant alligators, would capture the hearts of television audiences? When Swamp People premiered on the History Channel in 2010, few expected it to succeed. After all, who would sit down week after week to watch Cajun hunters chase gators through the Atchafalaya Basin? Yet the series broke every prediction, quickly becoming one of the network's most enduring successes. What began as a seasonal glimpse into a regional tradition
That's a boat!
soon grew into a global hit, showcasing daring hunts, unforgettable personalities, and a lifestyle completely foreign to most viewers. But what the cameras revealed was only the surface. Behind the production, and within the bayous themselves, lies an entire world of unusual stories and hidden truths that fans rarely get to see. Today, we're uncovering 15 strange and surprising facts about Swamp People you probably never knew. Fact number 15. The show almost ended before it began. Back in the spring of 2010, when Swamp People first premiered on the History Channel, not many believed the show would survive beyond a single season. The idea seemed far too niche. Cajun families in Louisiana risking their lives catching massive alligators. Even inside the network, some doubted whether audiences outside the bayou would care to watch week after week. The debut ratings were nothing extraordinary, and quiet conversations began about pulling the plug before the season was even complete. But then, something unexpected took place. Word started to spread across small towns and big cities alike. Families tuned in, almost mesmerized, as Troy Landry shouted, "Shoot 'em!" while battling gators longer than most boats. The raw danger, the authenticity of the people, and the simple but gripping storytelling worked like magic. By the season finale, more than 4 million viewers were watching every episode, an outcome that left even the producers stunned. Still, executives wondered whether lightning could strike twice. Could people really watch gator hunts for years and not grow tired of it? Yet the heart of the show wasn't only the reptiles. It was the characters. Troy Landry's Cajun charm, Liz Cavalier's bold spirit, and the unbreakable family bonds gave the series a soul that polished reality shows lacked. Instead of fading, Swamp People turned into one of the History Channel's most reliable hits. Looking back, the thought of cancellation after Season 1 now feels almost unbelievable, as the show grew into a true cultural phenomenon. Fact number 14. The real business behind the gator hunts. To many first-time viewers, the most shocking discovery about Swamp People is that the hunts aren't just for thrills or TV spectacle. Every gator hauled into a boat has real financial value. For families across Louisiana, the short hunting season can decide how they survive for the rest of the year. The process is straightforward. Hunters sell their catches to processors, who pay per foot for both hides and meat. A big gator might bring in several $100s, while smaller ones fetch less. Multiply that by dozens or sometimes hundreds of tags, and it becomes clear why the stakes are so high. This practice isn't new. Since the 1970s, when Louisiana pulled the American alligator back from near extinction, the state has tightly regulated the trade. Licensed buyers ensure that every part of the animal is used. Meat ends up in restaurants or stores, while hides are crafted into boots, handbags, and belts that reach markets worldwide. On Swamp People, these financial stakes are the invisible clock ticking behind every scene. When Troy Landry or Junior Edwards race to fill their tags, it's not just for bragging rights. It's because an empty tag can mean lost income. What cameras rarely capture is the business hustle behind it all. The haggling over prices, the weighing of hides, or even hunters storing gators overnight in coolers to wait for a better deal. This side of the story may not make thrilling television, but it's the heartbeat of the swamp economy. The truth is, The drama isn't just about battling alligators. It's about putting food on the table, paying bills, and preserving a tradition that has kept families alive for generations. Fact number 13. How Troy Landry became the king of the swamp. If there is one face that defines swamp people, it's Troy Landry. From day one, audiences connected with his Cajun accent, his steady confidence, and his now legendary battle cry, "Shoot 'em!" Yet the odd part is that Troy himself never called himself the king of the swamp. That title was born not from his own pride, but from the crew working behind the scenes. During the early days of filming, cameramen and producers couldn't help but notice how other hunters often looked to Troy for guidance. He seemed to know every curve of the swamp, every shortcut through the marsh, and every trick to outsmart a giant gator. In moments of trouble, Troy usually had the answer before anyone else. The crew began jokingly referring to him as the King. By the time the second season rolled out, the nickname was no longer a joke. It was part of the official promotion. At first, Troy resisted the label. Coming from the small town of Pierre Part, he had hunted gators his whole life, but he still saw himself as a simple fisherman, not a television personality. Even in interviews, he downplays the title, saying plenty of other hunters are just as skilled. But fans fully embraced the idea. Kids wore t-shirts proudly declaring him King of the Swamp, and tourists traveled to Louisiana just for a chance to meet him. What started as lighthearted banter among crew members turned into one of the strongest symbols of the show. The nickname lifted Troy from a local outdoorsman to a pop culture icon, proving that sometimes legends are created not by self-promotion, but by the admiration of those who witness greatness firsthand. Fact number 12. RJ and J. Paul Molinaro are competitive boxers. Among the most dynamic father-son pairs to ever appear on Swamp People are R.J. Molinari and his son, J. Paul. On screen, they are shown working side by side in the bayous, setting lines, pulling in massive alligators, and navigating the swamp with precision. Yet what many viewers never knew is that both men have a background in combat sports, and their skills as athletes directly influence the way they hunt. R.J., the father, is a Golden Gloves boxing champion. He built his reputation as a powerful fighter long before television crews arrived in Louisiana. His discipline, stamina, and ability to remain calm under pressure are traits that translate seamlessly into the swamp, where every pull of the line and every rifle shot requires focus and timing. For him, hunting gators is not just about muscle, it is about strategy, much like a match inside the boxing ring. J. Paul, his son, followed closely in his footsteps, but carved out his own path in the world of mixed martial arts. A decorated fighter, J. Paul earned several titles in competitive circuits across Louisiana and beyond. His agility and quick reflexes, honed from years of training, give him an edge when wrestling lines or reacting to sudden movements from a thrashing 12-foot gator. Fans of the show often remark on how effortlessly he moves, leaping across boats or pulling ropes with a sharpness that seems almost athletic choreography. The Molinaires are also deeply tied to their Native American heritage, being members of the Homa tribe. For them, fighting and hunting are not separate pursuits but expressions of tradition, strength, and survival. Whether in the ring or on the water, father and son share a bond built on discipline and respect. Their dual identity, as swamp hunters and competitive fighters, sets them apart as some of the most versatile and surprising figures in Swamp People. Fact number 11. Producers struggled with the Cajun accent. When Swamp People first hit television screens in 2010, audiences immediately noticed how different the cast sounded compared to polished reality stars. The Cajun dialect of southern Louisiana is thick, rich, and unlike anything Hollywood crews had dealt with before. For producers from Los Angeles and New York, it felt like they had landed in a foreign country. In those first weeks of shooting, some admitted they could barely make sense of what Troy Landry, Bruce Mitchell, or R.J. Molinare were saying. The Cajun way of speaking is a blend of English, French, and generations of Bayou slang. Words are shortened, rhythms stretched, and expressions sprinkled with Cajun French. Hunters might call someone cher as a term of affection, or slip seamlessly into French when excitement takes over. To outsiders, it was almost impossible to follow. When the editors began piecing episodes together, the problem stood out clearly. Early test audiences loved the danger and action of the gator hunts, but they often missed half the dialogue. The solution came quickly: subtitles. By the second episode, nearly every hunter's words were captioned, and what could have been a barrier became one of the show's trademarks. Ironically, this decision made the show even more engaging. Fans began picking up Cajun phrases, repeating "chewed 'em" with the same passion as Troy. Instead of alienating viewers, the accent drew them in, adding authenticity that no script could provide. For the hunters, it was a point of pride. They didn't change who they were for television. Television had to adjust to them. What started as confusion turned into one of the quirks that made swamp people unforgettable. Fact number 10. The high stakes of alligator tags. One of the strangest truths about swamp people is that what viewers see isn't just for entertainment. It's tightly controlled by Louisiana's strict wildlife laws. Every licensed hunter begins the season with a certain number of state-issued tags, each one representing the right to harvest a single alligator. Once those tags are used, the season is finished for that hunter. It's this rule that gives the show its real-life sense of urgency. Every hook, every bait line, every catch matters. The system was created back in 1972, when conservation officials realized unregulated hunting could wipe out the species. Thanks to careful management, the American alligator made a dramatic comeback, and by the time cameras rolled in 2010, the population was strong again. Still, the rules never loosened. For hunters like Troy Landry, R.J. Molinari, and Liz Cavalier, the number of tags in their pocket could determine their income for the entire year. Smaller hunters might receive only a few dozen, while long-standing families sometimes hold hundreds. That's why the tension you see on screen is no act. If a hunter fails to fill those tags within the 30-day window, the opportunity is gone. And so is the money. Each unclaimed tag can cost hundreds or even thousands of dollars in lost sales of hides and meat. Producers later admitted that they didn't have to invent drama at all. The tag system itself, with its built-in countdown, created a natural race against time and nature that no script could ever match. Fact number 9. The Landry's gas station roots. Before television fame ever came their way, the Landry family was already well known in their hometown of Pierre Part, Louisiana. Not because of reality TV, but because of a small gas station they owned and operated. That little station, with its convenience store attached, was, and still is, one of their steady sources of income outside the short alligator season. Over the years, it has grown into something more than a business. It has become a landmark for locals and fans alike. For neighbors, the store is a gathering place. Fishermen swing by for supplies, hunters grab snacks and coffee at sunrise, and townsfolk trade stories in the parking lot. For Troy Landry, working behind the counter was always just part of being a hard-working member of the community. Long before he was called the King of the Swamp, he was known locally as the man ready to help with gas, bait, or advice on the day's fishing. When swamp people unexpectedly exploded in popularity, in 2010, the gas station found itself with a whole new kind of customer: tourists. People traveled across states to stand in front of the store, take photos, buy souvenirs, and sometimes even spot Troy or another Landry in person. Many described the trip as a kind of pilgrimage, turning the modest family business into a cultural attraction. Despite the fame, the Landrys never abandoned their down-to-earth approach. Troy often says the store keeps him grounded, reminding him of his roots and the value of community. For many viewers, it's a surprising fact. Behind the television cameras and gator hunts, the Landrys remain shopkeepers, proving that even the king of the swamp has bills to pay and a hometown to serve. Fact number 8. The hidden talents of the swamp hunters. At first glance, the stars of swamp people appear to be full-time gator hunters, locked in battle with giant reptiles year-round. But the truth is far more surprising. Louisiana's alligator season lasts only 30 days, meaning the rest of the year, hunters must find other ways to survive. This has revealed an unexpected range of skills and side jobs that show just how resourceful these men and women really are. Take Troy Landry, for example. Away from the water, he helps run his family's gas station, keeping the business alive in Pierre Part. Junior Edwards, meanwhile, has earned money fishing catfish commercially, often working long nights with trot lines stretching across dark waters. Liz Cavalier once made her living trapping furs, muskrat, nutria, and other swamp animals, selling pelts in local markets. And Glenn Gwist, perhaps the most unique of all, lives almost entirely off the land. He crafts his own furniture, invents tools from scraps, and hunts game to keep his pantry stocked. This variety of trades shows the adaptability needed to survive in the bayou. Nothing is certain. Prices change, seasons shift, and storms can wipe out opportunities overnight. To live here, you have to be more than just one thing. That's why so many swamp people cast members wear multiple hats: hunter, fisherman, trapper, business owner, craftsman. Their diverse skills highlight an essential truth. In the swamp, survival isn't just about catching gators. It's about adjusting to whatever the environment demands. These hidden talents remind viewers that being a swamp hunter means mastering far more than one trade. It means being ready for anything. Fact number 7. The gator meat is a local staple. For many viewers outside of Louisiana, the idea of eating alligator meat seems exotic, even shocking. Yet for the families featured on Swamp People, gator meat is not unusual at all. It is part of everyday life and a staple of Cajun cuisine. Long before television crews set foot in the Atchafalaya Basin, Cajun hunters had been feeding their families with what they caught. In the bayou, nothing goes to waste, and that includes the alligator. The meat itself is surprisingly versatile. It can be grilled, fried, smoked, or added to gumbo and jambalaya. Restaurants across southern Louisiana serve gator sausage, gator nuggets, and even gator jerky. Locals describe the taste as a cross between chicken and fish, mild, slightly chewy, and perfect for seasoning with Cajun spices. For hunters like Troy Landry and Liz Cavalier, the freezer at the end of hunting season is often stocked not only with catfish and shrimp, but with neatly packaged alligator cuts to last through the year. Economically, gator meat plays an important role as well. Beyond the hides, which are often sold to luxury markets for boots and handbags, the beef itself is processed and sold to grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Gulf Coast. Prices vary depending on supply and demand, but for some hunters, the sale of meat can bring in as much money as the hides. On the show, fans occasionally catch glimpses of cast members cooking up their catch. Glenn Gwist, for example, has been known to fry gator tail on camera, while others talk about family recipes passed down for generations. These meals are not staged props. They reflect an authentic food tradition that binds the Cajun community together. For viewers accustomed to supermarket chicken or beef, the sight of hunters grilling alligator steaks is strange. But in the swamps of Louisiana, gator meat is simply dinner. Fact number 6. Some gators are over 1,000 pounds. The sheer size of the alligators on Swamp People is one of the biggest shocks for new viewers. While most people imagine these reptiles as large but manageable, the truth is that some of the gators pulled from the Louisiana swamps are genuine giants. In fact, a fully grown American alligator can measure over 15 feet in length and weigh more than 1,000 pounds. These massive creatures are not just trophies, they are among the most dangerous animals the hunters face. For Troy Landry and his crew, encountering one of these monsters, as they often call them, means preparation and teamwork. A gator of that size has incredible strength. It can thrash with enough power to flip a small boat or snap heavy ropes like thread. The process of hauling one in is a battle of endurance. Hunters must set their lines carefully, fire a kill shot with precision, and then wrestle the beast aboard without capsizing. The danger is not staged for television. Every thrash of the tail, every lunge of the jaw, carries the risk of injury or even death. Some of the most memorable moments in the series involve these oversized gators. In early seasons, Troy Landry's hunts with his sons often highlighted the near-impossible challenge of hauling a 14-foot giant across the side of a flat-bottomed boat. R.J. and J. Paul Molinari, with their athletic background, sometimes used sheer strength to handle similar catches. Each of these moments reminded viewers that the swamps are not only unpredictable but also home to predators that dwarf anything most people have ever seen in the wild. Biologists note that such giant gators are rare, the product of decades of growth in protected wetlands. For the hunters, capturing one is both a financial windfall and a test of their skills. For the audience, it is one of the strangest and most thrilling reminders that in the Louisiana bayou, nature still rules. Fact number 5. The filming crew faces the same dangers. While the stars of Swamp People take center stage in the hunt for alligators, a lesser-known fact is that the camera crews are exposed to nearly the same dangers as the hunters themselves. Unlike traditional reality shows filmed in studios or controlled environments, Swamp People requires production staff to ride along in small boats, often balancing heavy equipment while floating in murky, gator-filled waters. Every scene showing Troy Landry or Liz Cavalier pulling a thrashing reptile into the boat also includes a cameraman only a few feet away, pointing his lens at the action. The risks are very real. Alligators are not the only threat in the swamps. Venomous snakes, such as water moccasins and rattlesnakes, lurk in the marsh, while swarms of mosquitoes and biting flies are a constant irritation. Sudden storms, strong currents, and sunken logs can tip a boat or strand the crew miles from shore. For producers accustomed to climate-controlled editing rooms, the harsh environment of the Atchafalaya Basin required an entirely different level of grit and endurance. Several crew members have admitted in interviews that they were shocked by how close they had to get to the danger. There are no long-range lenses powerful enough to capture the energy of a gator fight from a safe distance. The only option is to climb into the boat and trust the hunters to keep them safe. This trust builds strong bonds between the cast and the crew, but it also means that one slip or mistimed move could result in serious injury. The presence of cameras sometimes even complicates the hunt. Boats are crowded, space is limited, and hunters must work around tripods and microphones while wrestling gators. Yet despite the danger, the crews continue filming, driven by the same adrenaline that captivates viewers. Their hidden bravery is one of the strangest truths about the show. Behind every dramatic moment lies another unsung story of men and women risking their own safety to bring the swamp to television screens. Fact number 4. Liz Cavalier, the woman they call the Gator Queen. Elizabeth Liz Cavalier never needed a reality show to earn her reputation. Long before History Channel cameras turned their lens toward the Louisiana bayous, people already knew her by a name that stuck: the Gator Queen. This title wasn't crafted by producers or handed out for drama. It was a badge of respect from fellow hunters who recognized her fearlessness and unmatched accuracy on the water. Raised in the small town of Pierre Part, Liz grew up in a family where hunting was part of everyday survival. Unlike many of the young women around her, she didn't sit safely on shorelines. She jumped into boats alongside the men, learning to set baited lines, fire rifles, and fight massive reptiles head-on. By adulthood, her reputation was already sealed. Liz wasn't just good, she was among the best in the swamp. When Swamp People first aired in 2010, Liz became one of the breakout stars. Viewers were fascinated by her chemistry with Troy Landry, a partnership built on grit, trust, and humor. Soon, fans across America wore shirts, waved posters, and even brought homemade crowns to events, proudly calling her the Gator Queen. But Liz never took the name lightly. She has spoken about the responsibility of representing women in an industry dominated by men. To her, the crown wasn't about glory. It was proof that persistence, courage, and talent can defy stereotypes. Whether aiming at a 12-foot monster or steering through the chaotic swamp waters, Liz truly embodied the spirit of her title. She wasn't acting for cameras. The Gator Queen was forged in Louisiana's marshes long before the world tuned in to watch. Fact number 3. Glenn Gist, the swamp's quiet philosopher. Among all the cast members, Glenn Gist stands apart for living life on his own terms. While others balance hunting with side jobs, family duties, or public appearances, Glenn has chosen a stripped-down lifestyle rooted in survival and simplicity. Some fans even describe him as a philosopher of the swamp, a man who needs little more than his boat, his traps, and the wilderness around him. Glenn grew up in the Louisiana wetlands with his brother Mitchell, and the two became inseparable hunting partners. On the show, their humor and free-spirited approach often brought a lighter touch compared to the tense gator hunts of their castmates. Unlike Troy Landry or the Molinares, money was never their focus. For Glenn and Mitchell, life was about existing with the swamp, not profiting from it. After Mitchell's untimely death in 2012, Glenn carried that same way of life forward on his own. What makes Glenn truly unique is how completely self-reliant he is. He can craft furniture from old driftwood, cook with whatever he gathers or catches, and build traps out of nothing more than discarded wire. His home, like his philosophy, reflects practicality over luxury. To audiences accustomed to modern convenience, Glenn's world feels almost like stepping back in time, into an older Louisiana where people survived with their hands and wits. Though eccentric, Glenn has built a devoted fan following. Many admire his authenticity, independence, and refusal to chase fame. In a program often filled with drama, strategy, and competition, Glenn Gist represents something purer. A man who chose to live simply, relying on the rhythms of the swamp rather than the expectations of the modern world. Fact number 2. Louisiana tourism soared thanks to the show. When Swamp People premiered in 2010, nobody predicted the impact it would have on Louisiana's tourism. Almost overnight, small Cajun towns like Pierre Part and Halma saw a surge of visitors curious to experience the world they had watched on television. Fans drove for hours just to fill their tank at Troy Landry's gas station, meet Liz Cavalier, or buy souvenirs with the famous phrase, "Shoot 'em," printed across the front. Restaurants quickly expanded their menus, adding gator dishes to draw adventurous eaters, while swamp tour companies began advertising their boat rides specifically to the show's audience. Families who had never set foot in a bayou before suddenly wanted to explore its waters, hoping to catch a glimpse of the reality they had fallen in love with on screen. Louisiana's tourism board recognized the phenomenon early and embraced it fully. They used the show's popularity to highlight Cajun traditions, swamp ecosystems, and the cultural richness of the region. The payoff was huge. Millions of extra dollars flowed into the state, transforming quiet communities into thriving destinations. For locals, the attention felt surreal. Places once overlooked became attractions, and long-held customs turned into celebrated experiences. What began as a niche reality program quickly became an unexpected ambassador for Louisiana, showcasing its people, food, and wild beauty to audiences around the globe. Fact number 1. Spin-offs and specials extended the legacy. The runaway success of Swamp People didn't stop with the original show. Its popularity encouraged History Channel to expand the franchise, proving that audiences wanted more than just Louisiana's gator hunts. Before long, new specials and spin-offs began appearing, each exploring different aspects of swamp life and wildlife. One of the most notable was Swamp People, Serpent Invasion, where familiar faces tackled the dangerous Burmese python problem in Florida. Other specials focused on behind-the-scenes footage, family stories, and extended hunting trips that couldn't fit into regular episodes. Fans couldn't get enough, tuning in to see more of the personalities and culture they had grown attached to. Merchandise soon followed, from t-shirts and mugs stamped with catchphrases to DVDs that kept the experience alive for collectors. Cast members traveled to meet and greet events, where supporters lined up to hear personal stories that never made it to broadcast. Not every spin-off matched the ratings of the original, but that hardly mattered. Together, they showed that Swamp People had become more than a television show. It was now a full-blown cultural phenomenon. The franchise managed to connect audiences worldwide to a swampy, mud-stained world they might never otherwise have cared about, leaving an impact far larger than anyone expected back in 2010. And there you have it, some of the strangest and most fascinating truths behind Swamp People. From fearless hunters like Liz Cavalier, to the quiet wisdom of Glenn Gwist, to the way the series reshaped Louisiana itself, the show is far more than just gator hunting. It is a living portrait of tradition, survival, and larger-than-life personalities who captured the world's imagination. If you enjoyed uncovering these hidden stories, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more, and ring the bell so you never miss the next deep dive. Until next time, keep your eyes on the swamp, because you never know what's lurking just beneath the surface.